Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Michael's Matters. And since the beginning of the year, it is always a great time to look at some of the newest lists that are coming out about 2024. And today specifically, I'm going to go over where some of the best places in the United States are to retire in 2024. And we're going to do it by region. Spoiler alert, by the way, they are not all in Pennsylvania. Now, before we get to the video, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, if you at least find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel to grow, which we are so thankful for. Thank you. But also because you get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. All right, now, let's get down to the video. So first things first, the basis for this list is from the US News list of top places to retire in 2024, but we added a couple of considerations, primarily regionality, because when you look at the list, you realize that not everybody in the United States who is about to retire wants to live in one of the many very beautiful cities. I've been there and it's nice, but one of the many cities that are on this list that just happen to be in Pennsylvania. So yes, there will be at least one Pennsylvania on our list, but it's not going to be monopolized by it like the US list as well. So we'll look at the top locations nationwide to consider retiring to in 2024, and then also where it is ranked in the US News reports list, as well as the average housing and healthcare scores, and also look at what the average retirement benefit is in each of these places, and lastly, whether or not they are tax friendly to retirees. So that's how we're going to do the list. So to start this list off, we're going to start with a couple of cities that are pretty far down on the list, but they have the benefits of being awesome places to live and to retire to if you're not thinking about the core criteria that the US News list is looking at, which is primarily housing affordability and healthcare. So starting from the bottom, the number 5 city on this list is going to be America's finest city, which is San Diego, California. And actually, it just recently got listed as one of the top cities in the country to live in, just obviously not for specifically retirement. Now, this is the only West Coast city on this list that we could find, and it was ranked at 115 on the US News list. Also, is the first city on the entirety of the list, the first city on that list at 115 to still be in California, which, says a lot about California. Now, the US News gave the score of 6.3 points out of 10 on average, and it gave it a 5.9 out of 10 for healthcare, which is above average. But really what brought the whole rankings down for San Diego is the housing affordability. And yes, the affordability in San Diego is quite bad, which is the lowest, in fact, of all the cities on this list at 3.5 points out of 100. So houses are not cheap there, but as far as what are the average retirement benefits yearly, as far as retirees in San Diego, it comes out to $34,737 a year, which goes to show that it is still doable to retire there on a reasonable income. And especially if you are there from back in the day and you had a house from the 70s and 80s when you bought it, you're going to be real happy about that housing unaffordability because it's quite valuable. But yeah, that is San Diego, California, number 5 on our list, 115 on the US News list. And no surprise, it is a beautiful place and a nice place to grow up and a nice place to live, if I may say so myself. But it is not exactly the best place to retire if you're thinking about the affordability side of it. And lastly, it does tax retirement benefits, things like pensions. Those things get taxed. So number 5 on our list, America's finest city, and a damn fine city, San Diego. So next up is a city that is in a region that we are just calling Texas because, Texas. And it is the city of Killeen, Texas. It is the first on the US News list at number 96, but it is the first on the list from Texas. And I know you would think, okay, maybe Austin or Houston, but no. Killeen, Texas is the first one that makes an appearance on the US News list, and it got an average score of 6.4 points out of 10, primarily supported by its very affordable housing, which got a 7.3 point score, and a reasonable healthcare accessibility score at 5.2 points out of 10. Also, a random fact, the Killeen High School football team mascot is the Fighting Kangaroos. Go Fighting Kangaroos. Also, some of the other pluses to it are 1, it is in Texas, and 2, it is not a huge city, but it's also not a tiny city as well. And the average retirement benefit in Killeen that someone is getting is around $27,471 a year, which puts it actually at $5,343 more on average yearly than what the average American Social Security benefit check is. So if you are just living on that average Social Security benefit, you're only about $5,000 away from making all the ends meet. So still very doable. And lastly, they do not tax pensions, which is a big plus for anyone who is retired, obviously. So that is Killeen, Texas at the number 4. The next city is a great city for those who enjoy the mountains at number 3. Specifically, in this case, it is the Rockies, and have a bit of extra cash to finance their mountain escapade, which is the city of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Now, this is our number 3 choice. It came in at number 94 on the U.S. News Report Best Places to Retire in 2024. Primarily because it looks like it has a below average healthcare accessibility score at 4.6 points, but it is definitely made up by the housing affordability, which is at 6 points out of 10. Additionally, the average retirement benefit in the Colorado Springs is at $32,379, which is kind of high because it puts it at $10,000 more than the average Social Security retirement benefit for a single person. So it is a bit pricey, but to add a further layer to this, they also do fully tax pensions and retirement benefits. So that's Colorado Springs. It is no doubtful, beautiful, and mountaininess is probably pretty awesome, but it's gonna end up costing you a couple extra bucks. At the number 2 on this list is one that I've always wanted to visit. It just seems so enduring, which is in the region of the South, and it is the cities of Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina, which I guess overlap kind of like maybe like a Calexico or a Texarkana. I'm guessing that's how it is. But it is home to the prestigious Chapel Hill University and full of all that Southern charm. Raleigh and Durham is the number 25 position on the U.S. News Best Place to Retire list in 2024. It's number 2 for us, obviously, and it gets an average score from the U.S. News at 6.8 points out of 10, with a fairly balanced 6.5 points for housing affordability, which is always a good sign, and a healthcare score that's, a little bit above average at 5.8 points out of 10. And although it does tax folks' pensions, the average retirement benefit in Raleigh and Durham is at $25,324 a year, which is just $3,196 more than the average Social Security benefit check. So if you are mainly receiving Social Security benefits for your income, it's just a couple extra hours, part-time work away from lining up with the average cost. And I bet that you will find an amazing pecan pie there all year round. All right, so here we go. This is the number 1 city on this list, the best place to retire in the United States. And it is our number 1, and it was the number 1 on the U.S. News Best Place to Retire in 2024. It's in the region of the East Coast, and if you guessed it, was somewhere in Pennsylvania, you are 100% right, because it is Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Now, it is obvious to see why Harrisburg came in at number 1 on this list, because it got a great score on average overall at 7.1 points from the U.S. News. Also because it had a really good score from affordable housing at 6.8 points, and a pretty good score at health accessibility at 7.9 points, which is really the highest one on the list with the exception of New York City, who had a perfect 10 out of 10. But of course, New York had a really abysmal housing affordability score, which brought that one down. Either way, moreover, the average retirement benefit in Harrisburg is at a very reasonable $24,392 a year, which is $2,264 more than what the average retiree gets from the U.S. Social Security benefits. Now, I think one of the best aspects of Harrisburg is that it is super duper, really ultimately duper super tax friendly to retirees, and does not put any tax on income from pensions. So there you go. Number 1 on the list on the U.S. News, number 1 on our list. And yes, it is Pennsylvania. We gave in. Fine, Pennsylvania is going to get at least one. But it is undeniably good. And if you are one to live in Pennsylvania, Harrisburg is where you're going to want to check out. So overall, looking at the list and when we were creating this list, one of the most interesting things about it is, especially for the U.S. News people, because they make all kinds of lists. They make lists of like the top universities, top grad schools, top list of really anything that anyone wants to read. They'll make a list about it. But this list specifically for retirement 2024 is so massively swayed toward Pennsylvania cities. I mean, they represent 60% of the top 10 best cities on this list. So either 1, Pennsylvania is an awesome place to retire, which is totally possible, or 2, there is some payola going on here from the Pennsylvania Board of Tourism or something like that, where they're paying U.S. News to not not artificially, but maybe just shine a brighter light, a shinier light on the cities of Pennsylvania. But assuming Pennsylvania lives up to all the hype, it is definitely something to take a look at if you're looking to retire and find a nice place that really treats retirees well. Should definitely check out most of Pennsylvania. In fact, it seems like most of the major cities in Pennsylvania will be pretty good. But it was also disappointing not to really see any California cities on the list, even in the top 100. I guess that just means the conventional knowledge about California is true, that maybe it isn't exactly the best place to retire, especially if you're not from there, if you're looking to move somewhere. So my favorite on the list, Colorado Springs. That's just me. Love the mountains. All right, so that's it for today's Michael's Matters, where we talk about the top 5 places in the U.S. to retire in 2024, broken down by region. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, if you found it interesting, if you found it helpful, or at least if you found it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, if you're considering moving to any of these places, please put it down in the comments. I'd love to know if someone is considering moving there, or if they already live there, and then if they like it or not. But yeah, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. Looking back over this last year, we had grown a lot. We look to do a lot more this year. But also, it means when you do subscribe, you get updates for our newest and most informative videos when they come out. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourself, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy